All right, so this is a suggestion via a channel member. Let's jump into it, guys.
Welcome back. We have breaking news on jobless claims. I want to clarify what I just reported because I threw a lot of numbers at you breaking moments ago. 198,000 initial jobless claims reported. In terms of continuing claims, 1.884 million continuing claims. Markets were moving on these numbers, and I wanted to get it out as soon as possible. 198,000 initial jobless claims and 1.88 million on continuing jobless claims. You heard Nancy Lazar tell us that the numbers were low, and she has been seeing green shoots in jobs. We've got other breaking news.
The Dow is down. Okay. S&P is up. Okay. I mean, for me personally, I think I care more about the S&P, but either way.
This morning, President Trump, with his strongest condemnation of
unless you're like
attacks
heavy into
on
like
law
technologies
yet, posting on Truth Social this morning, saying this: if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act.
Okay. His exact words here. Obviously, he's calling them corrupt because they're not really trying to do anything to defend, I guess, the ethics or morality of the federal government. I guess I'm trying to figure out why. But either way, if we listen to what everyone is basically saying from the region, they are definitely siding with the protesters. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, where we are here. And those same people are definitely in Congress. So again, that's kind of my opinion. I think we're going to just land on the Insurrection Act. I do agree with you here, Viper. Fully, okay? In fact, the smart thing to do at the very least is have the conversation, but you know, how he says it is not we're gonna have a conversation. It says I'm gonna do it, right? And that's just gonna be a very interesting thing, but we'll see if this actually happens. We'll obviously cover it.
Many presidents have done this before me and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place that in that once great state, writes the president. The president also posted about a federal judge declining to block ICE operations in Minnesota. The judge was appointed by former President Joe Biden in 2021. And we are following this fast-moving story as well in Minnesota. Joining me now is former acting ICE director and former federal prosecutor Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, your reaction to what is taking place in Minnesota?
Well, just real quick on President Trump's post, I think it's entirely appropriate to implement the Insurrection Act because what Minnesota is doing is so beyond what any of these other states have been doing. Both the leaders, both Governor Walz and Jacob Frey, have been using their power and their authority to undermine and prevent the enforcement of federal law. So I think President Trump is spot on here, and it's really outrageous. And there, you would have to look for a historical analog to what's going on with some of these states and fighting against the federal enforcement of federal law. You'd have to go back to the civil rights era, the Civil War. This is really unprecedented, and I think they're forcing President Trump's hand, and I think they want to do this, quite honestly. I think they want the confrontation because Tim Walz doesn't want the scrutiny on all of this fraud, and Jacob Frey just like this helps his social justice profile, but really it's so bad what's going on in Minnesota. These agents are the ones acting out the democratic process because they are enforcing laws passed by Congress, and it's so outrageous, totally appropriate.
The Insurrection Act, which is from 1807, allows the president to use active duty military or federalized National Guard on U.S. soil to put down an insurrection, rebellion, or violent unrest. That is exactly what we are seeing in Minnesota. It helps him enforce federal law when the states cannot or will not do it, and protect constitutional rights if state authorities fail. This is why the president just posted that, because we are not seeing the governor or the mayor, as you just said, Mayor Frey, stop these insurrectionists and agitators. The president called them professional agitators from getting in the way of ICE operations.
No, because it just seems like they're kind of in promotion of it. Like if they really wanted it to stop, they would go a lot harder with actually fixing the problem here. Understand this here. If we go back to the Watts riots, when the last time the Insurrection Act was actually like kind of, put out there, and the reason why the National Guard wasn't like the number one is because for some reason, magically, as soon as they were about to be kind of sent out there, they didn't have enough equipment to kind of handle the things. It's intriguing how they had it like multiple weeks to months before. Then all of a sudden, when they're told to kind of act, they didn't have it. So, I understand, everyone has like a different like political kind of view on how they want to kind of run things, as I'd say here, but this is why I suspect that we're going to start getting like a repeat of like either active duty Army, Marines kind of on the streets of Minnesota. I can forecast that. I definitely would not specifically depend on the Minnesota National Guard in the context of this here, because again, something tells me magically, things are just not going to be, ready, or they're not going to have enough things to actually handle this entire, the riotous behavior, let's call it.
Now, a DHS
On purpose,
employee
by accident.
reportedly leaked the personal information of thousands of ICE, Border Patrol, and federal agents who are enforcing President Trump's immigration crackdown policies. The information was shared with the founding of the doxing website called ICE List. That list shares agents' personal information. This is incredible what they are doing. DHS reporting an over 3,000% increase in attacks by vehicles, vehicular attacks, and an increase of 1,300% in assaults against agents just last year, Jonathan. How will this stop?
Yeah, this is so outrageous, and this person, whoever did this, needs to be prosecuted, because this was deliberately done to put agents in danger. And you're right, putting these stats, how much the threats have increased, the assaults have increased. And imagine being an ICE agent, having your personal information, your address put online, because these are people that have husbands and wives and children, and it's just scary, it's intimidating. But this person, it's a federal felony with a 5-year max per leak. So you're looking at 4,500 leaks. Hopefully they will catch whoever's involved and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. And some people have described this person as a whistleblower. This is not whistleblowing.
Not really a
this
whistleblower.
Is not revealing fraud or abuse. This is directly intended to harm agents, and this really needs to stop, and this person needs to be held accountable.
More than that.
And anyone publishing this really should take a look at themselves as to what they're doing, because they're putting people unnecessarily in danger.
Yeah, it's incredible to me that
they don't care about those people, though. Like, you understand this here. When you hate something so deeply, and you hate a group of people, or you hate something so deeply, it's generally because you immediately have decided that the entity, specifically on the other side of whatever hatred you're espousing currently, is no longer human. So again, I want to go ahead and kind of reiterate this here. They have officially dehumanized the people of ICE. That's just kind of what this is here. Okay, I live in an area where I can't find a job. ICE is hiring. I go get a job at ICE, right? My background is clean, et cetera, and now I'm a bad guy because I got a job to feed my family, right? But either way,
they're doing this and completely ignoring any criminality that the government is pursuing here. The administration is pursuing taking down illegals who are committing crimes.
You're exactly right. And you know what the good news of the whole Trump immigration policy is? Crime is down 20% this year. We are having a record low decrease. We may have a record low number of murders this year because of all of this. So Trump is making the city safer, particularly Minneapolis. We've seen the people they've been arresting, child predators, violent offenders.
Don't say the crazy
so
words.
They are making things safer. So that's the good news of this policy. Americans are safer, and that's why the Democrats are going so crazy on this, because it shows the president's policies are effective, they're working, they're making people better, and the Democrats, the core of their electoral strategy, most people I think realize it at this point, is illegal immigration, and they are fighting every deportation like it's a vote getting kicked out of the country.
Yeah, let me get your take on this. The Brookings Institute reporting a negative net migration for the first time in at least 50 years. Net migration hit between negative 10,000 and 295,000 last year, Jonathan.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And again, it shows how effective President Trump's policies are working, not just the deportation, but nobody's coming in because we have a secure border, and both immigration enforcement and the secure border are intertwined. You can't have one without the other. But we're also seeing benefits of this. We're seeing Americans' wages are rising. Americans are getting jobs that they were otherwise not getting. We're seeing safer communities. We're going to see falling housing prices. We're also going to see better health care and better quality schools. This is a huge win for the American people, and thanks to President Trump for sticking with this fight on immigration, because it's so important for public safety, national security, and quality of life.
Okay. I'm trying to think if I like the idea of like no net migration, that type of thing. I'm trying to just figure this out here. In terms of like illegal immigration, yeah, we can cut that down to zero, right? That's not a thing here. But the people who specifically are coming from other places that actually have the ability to afford to purchase property in the United States of America, or I don't know, they have all of the credentials, basically, right? They fit into the culture very well. I don't really see the problem with them here, but the idea of zero net migration is like, I don't know if that's a good thing specifically. I think we need to kind of always maintain like some level of migration, but not illegal migration. That's done. We don't need that. That's ridiculous, right? We cannot allow people to break into our country that are coming from places that are like massively different from us culturally. They have no need or desire to basically assimilate into our culture. They want to bring their culture that they're running from to here. That's not a thing, guys. I don't really like the idea of that. But the people who actually can qualify for it, they go through their background checks, they can afford to not live off of the government. I don't really see a problem with that, guys, at all. Not that right there. But now, in terms of the Insurrection Act, guys, listen. It's going to be interesting if it actually happens, all right? Very interesting politically. I do think that it's not going to kind of change the way Trump's base specifically looks at him, but he's going to be called a whole lot of brand new names coming from the left, at least, right? Because anytime you supersede them or their ability to basically say no to what he wants, which is basically everything, right? Like the moment you do that, they go crazy. They lose it all over the internet, right? I mean, more protests are going to happen. Then more people are going to be injured when they think that they're going to have the ability to basically, run up for the most part against the federal government, let's say, in any meaningful manner. It is what it is here, guys, right? I mean, if you do not remove the emotion, right, from the scenario, hey, listen, let's pull it back for a second and look at this plainly, all right? The federal government is attempting to do something that the federal government has mandated is legal, acceptable, and within the bounds of the law. Okay, let's start there. Right? Let's look at it logically. And your local government, your state government, governor, mayor, is basically fanning the flames of the craziness because he thinks that if he does that, you're going to vote for him the next time he's up for election, basically, right? So instead, in a very selfish manner, he has decided to basically do what you're saying rather than be an actual leader here. And for the most part, these leaders are followers, right? They're not really offering anything, guys. They're not benefiting the community at all, right? They're just listening to what these people have to say because they want you to vote for them. They're not benefiting the country, guys. I'm trying to understand how they are. They're not. Unless, help me out in the comments. Like, seriously, I love reading people's comments. I love trying to understand, different perspectives that I may just not know here, guys. Right? I mean, because the problem here is that Trump cannot go to Congress because that's not going to work because the Democrats are going to consistently side with the people who they want the votes from. Right, similar to like every single couple of years, where the Democrats go to like impoverished Black Latino communities, offer them the world, specifically give them nothing, but just for the most part numb and coddle these communities for the sole purpose of maintaining their voting bloc. Right, this is a worthless venture. Do something, fix it. The governor is not going to do anything about these protesters because he wants their vote. The mayor is not going to push for any of this stuff. Why? Because he wants the people's votes here, right? So we now know there can really be no actual federal intervention because in the context of like federal law enforcement, at least, because that doesn't work because they're already there. We already tried it. They don't care. All right. The protests are ramping up now. We do know that there could be no diplomacy. Why? Because again, look at who's in Congress. They're siding with the same people who are out here doing this craziness. Right. So we now know the federal intervention in terms of like the federal police, that's not working. The diplomacy, that's not working. So what's left? The Insurrection Act. Right. That's it here. That's it. Like, I mean, and that's it. And we know based off of like previous events in our history here, attempting to enact the National Guard when a governor does not want it to happen. But understand this here, though. The difference, I think, is California governor, the last time they actually wanted the National Guard to come in. But it seemed like there was some, I don't know, like locals that were involved or some, I don't know. I'm suspicious of that entire event here, guys. And somehow they didn't have the equipment, even though they had the equipment before, but they didn't have the equipment to basically go out and do anything about the Watts riots the last time, right? So we'll see. We'll see if this happens again here, right? Magically, the Minnesota National Guard gets put out there and they have nothing. So then they have to basically go back because it's not safe for them to be out there. What happens next? The Marines and the Army hits the streets of Minnesota, right? The Insurrection Act, all out, because you won't sit down at a table and think logically, right? Like you won't risk, like, I don't think we need politicians that won't risk their status as politicians, right? Like if you won't risk it, then I don't think we need you in America at this time. Okay, if every single thing that you do is based off of your partisan position in life, how beneficial is that to your constituents? It's not. It's terribly not beneficial. Guys, do you want to watch movies with me? I never actually thought to like promote it over here, guys. But if you guys do want to watch it, guys, we have hundreds of movies, and I mean hundreds of movies that we've reacted to. You guys can come watch them with me if you want to, along with many TV shows. Currently, we're working on the show Dexter, along with Vikings, and we have a lot of series that are already completed. But if you guys do want to watch it with me, the link is in the description. Everything's available at the second tier. But of course, if that's not your thing, guys, don't worry. Right? Listen, like and subscribe.